I guess we'll get started. I am Yvonne Rasmus, and I'm the coordinator for the UC Master Gardeners. We're thrilled to have you joining us tonight for this program. And we are very pleased to be working with the Napa County Library as partners on this. They are our hosts. And so I want to turn it over to Constance to welcome you as well.
Thank you. And welcome everybody. We're happy to co-host this with you. It's a great program that you guys have. And with weather patterns changing, we are compelled to evaluate our needs for home gardens and landscaping. So replacing our water-thirsty lawns with water-efficient landscaping is one way to conserve our resources. If you come to our library, we have a number of titles, a number of books available about reworking your garden. Examples are Planting Design for Dry Gardens, Beautiful Resilient Ground Covers for Terraces, Paved Areas, Gravel, and Other Alternatives to the Lawn by Oliver Filippi, and Lawn Gone, Low Maintenance, Sustainable, Attractive Alternatives for Your Yard by Pam Pennick. So those are just a few materials that we have in our collection that might be of interest to you. And please come in and check out our home and garden section at the library. We're happy to help you find what you're looking for to help you replace your lawn and save water. And with that, I will hand it back to Yvonne.
Great, thank you. The library has been such a great resource through this COVID situation and shutdown. It's been great to have the library as a resource and always a partner, and we're just thrilled to be here. And our topic tonight is going to be replacing grass, saving water, and possibly getting cash if you do a rebate program. So for those of you that haven't joined us before, we are UC Master Gardeners of Napa County. That's a statewide organization through the University of California, but they are also master gardeners in all kinds of other states around the US. And everybody has the same mission, where our mission really is to use the research-based information coming out of our land-based universities to give it out to the public. And we really focus on home horticulture, pest management, and sustainable landscaping to try to help everyone grow healthy and grow better gardens and not use a lot of pesticides, conserve our resources, and take care of our gardens as well as our planet. So by reserving our water for the things that we want it for is a really great way of taking care of our planet as well as our state. And so I am going to do one more slide for just sort of business side of things. We are part of the university, and part of what we are supposed to do is to serve our local community and our public. So what we'd like to do is, after this program, we would like to send you a survey in about a month or two to see if you have taken any of the information that we gave you tonight and used it in your own garden. So that is a follow-up survey that'll come from our statewide program, and they will then give us feedback that you've returned to us about what effect we had on your gardening. If you don't want to get this survey, you can type in the chat right now. Just type in your first and last name, not your email, because we can look that up if you logged in with an email, and we'll take you off of that list. So if you don't want to get the survey, but we really would love to have your information, and it's a very short survey targeted on what our topic is today. So to that, I would also like to mention that we will be answering all your questions. If you have any questions as we're going through the program, type them into the chat. And the chat, you should be able to find it either the bottom or the top of your screen. If you take your mouse and hover it there, you should be able to find a chat option. You can type any of the questions that you have in there, and we'll answer them towards the end of the program. So now I'm going to turn it over to our presenters, and Iris is going to talk about what we're going to do tonight.
So tonight's presentation, we are going to find out why we replace your grass. If when you mow the lawn, and that's the only time you walk on it, then it's time to replace it. We replace our grass to reduce the amount of water and to reduce the use of pesticides and other toxic materials. We are going to be showing you the sheet mulching method, and we will be replanting the garden. Finally, we'll consider cash for grass or on other water conservation programs. Contact your city water department for programs they offer. Now, considerations. Why do you need to replace your lawn? Well, it may be old and tired. It's time to do something different. It may be that the only time you walk on it is when you mow. And also because it uses a lot of water. And during climate change, we want to reduce water consumption. What do you need to do before you start? Well, you're going to change your irrigation. You're going to convert sprinklers, if you have lawn sprinklers, to drip, or put in an entirely new drip system. What types of plants to replace your lawn with? California natives, low water. My favorite is succulents, pollinator plants, which quite often are California natives, and Mediterranean garden plants. And we will find out what supplies you need and how to contact your local city for possible cash refund programs. Begin, consult an irrigation person on how to install a 1/2-inch hose before you plant, and put flags around the garden where the hoses or heads are. You may be those little, I should have had a picture of it. They're just little markers. You may be able to convert your old sprinkler heads to a drip system, but it probably will require a pressure reduction valve. We're going to build up our soil by sheet composting. We need to nurture the soil first for your garden to flourish, to use less water, and to allow microbes or little living things in the ground to begin to thrive. Now, replacing your grass? Well, again, water conservation, although this process will use quite a bit of water, but once you get it started, you won't need to water as much. The lawn is not needed as before. Your children may have grown. The use of it is passé now. So how do we do it? Well, we can begin by digging it out. We can hire someone to do it. This is an awful lot of hard work. Or we can sheet compost, which Sue Helms calls the lazy person's way of replacing your grass. And with that, I'd like to introduce Sue Helms.
What exactly is sheet composting? It's really a method of putting layers of organic material on top of the soil. You don't have to dig it in. And now that I've been designated the lazy person for gardening, I will own that completely, because it is much easier. The one thing I want to say is you will find many names for, I call it sheet composting. You might see sheet mulching, layer mulching. And then there's one that I think of a little bit differently. And, but this may be kind of me. I have seen it described this way, but lasagna composting, the garden bed on the right, it's an old garden bed. I was experimenting last spring, and I divided the garden bed in half with a 2x4. And then I started doing layers of, like building a lasagna. I started building layers of brown materials, which are carbon-rich materials like cardboard, leaves. I even used some rice hulls that I got from the feed store. And then interspersing that with layers of green materials that are high in nitrogen. The first one I'm going to say will not seem obviously green, but coffee grounds are really high in nitrogen. So they're great to use for that. I've used kitchen scraps that are cut up, like vegetables and fruit that I've cut up. I've used healthy garden clippings, like when something's done, you don't want to use weed heads, weed seeds or anything, obviously, because this is not a hot composting method. But now that I've mentioned that, for tonight, we're going to be talking about a much simpler way of sheet composting, where we're using cardboard and then already made compost. And why do we want to do this now? Like Iris said, water conservation, improving the quality of your soil. This time of year is a terrific time to begin this. As it looks like we're going to have rain in the nearish future, it will help break everything down. So fall is a great time to start. I've done them in the winter, I've done them in the summer. So fall's a great time too, because there's rain coming, and hopefully you'll have things ready to go soon. Next. Sheet composting, it is my go-to method when I have weeds that appear, because I don't really like to pull weeds. Why not improve the soil and get rid of them with sheet composting? Here's an example. You could even start with small spaces. Here's a place by some rose bushes that the weeds were very persistent and the rose bushes are prickly. Didn't really want to deal with it. Took small boxes that came to my house, and then I put already made compost on top of it. Works great. Much easier than digging things up. You could become slightly obsessed with this process. I had a very large lawn that had very low water grass that honestly I could not kill, and it was no longer nice and it wasn't needed. And I decided to turn it into a garden area, which you see down below. And cardboard, rows of compost. And then this picture was taken after I put down rice straw, because it doesn't sprout, as a footpath. And it's quite fluffy and large. So it looks like the footpaths are way bigger than the garden space. It's actually a little more equal than that. Next. But today we're really talking about replacing your lawn with California native and low water plants. So here you see a lush lawn. There you see some plants that have been planted. Very nice yard that's happening there. Here's the materials you will need to get started. Most of them are very easy to get a hold of. You will need cardboard. If you're going to do a large area, the small cardboard boxes aren't as practical, because you want to have the cardboard overlapping by at least 6 inches from edge to edge, overlapping like that. And those small boxes will make you a little crazy after a while. Appliance cardboard is really great, as are bicycle boxes from a bicycle shop. I also experimented with a roll of cardboard that I purchased, and I have some thoughts about that, which I will share later. You will need a shovel. You will need something to move compost around in, a wheelbarrow, and you will need a way to water each layer as you go. Next. Additional materials that you may need. I use these landscape staples. I like them because things don't shift around like the rolls of cardboard or even the cardboard sheets. In doing this in the summer, it was hard to get the staples in the ground, to be really honest. You can use rocks. You can use bricks. Once you get the compost on top of the cardboard, the staples aren't really, they're just kind of added insurance. The compost will hold things down, but to get started, you will need compost. Here, someone's built a lovely compost pile, which I'm sure took them quite a while to get that very nice compost, or you can purchase it. You can buy it from people who sell soil amendments and gravel for your yard, or you can get it from the city recycling, or any city that does recycling of yard waste probably has some sort of compost program. And they will deliver it to you. It's pretty inexpensive. There is a cost to that in some way. On top of everything, you're going to want to put mulch to suppress new weeds. You can get mulch for free from tree trimming companies. You just need to call them and ask them for disease-free tree trimmings. You don't want the poor tree that died of some terrible disease. But they will come bring you loads happily, and make sure to be clear about how much you want. Otherwise, they might keep coming forever, who knows. Next. How long will this process take? You could do an area in a day, start to finish. I didn't. But you would need people to help you. I think it would be difficult to do it on your own. And I was doing, this is a picture of my front yard lawn that hadn't been watered yet this year. I started this like in May or June. So it was looking less than healthy. I did it over the course of time, mostly because my lawn was a very water resistant fescue. It wasn't the nicest of grass. It was kind of what they recommended 30 years ago. I wanted to make sure it was really not going to come back. And I would be worried if I was cutting holes in it the first day that the grass might find a way to grow. How hard will it be? It's not very hard. And it's way easier than digging. How to begin if you want to sheet compost your lawn. You're going to cut back your lawn, or what you call is lawn, the weeds, as short as possible. You're going to remove anything that is persistent that you have done battle with for many years, or plants like blackberries, because cardboard won't stop blackberries, merely an annoyance to them. So you need to kind of dig those out. Next. And then you're going to water at each level. And I have to say, one of the problems with my doing this in the summer is the ground was really hard because it had not been watered. Next. So this is a picture of the roll of cardboard that I had. And I think it's 4 feet wide and it was like 100 feet long. And I still have quite a bit left. So you lay the cardboard on top of the grass. I overlapped it by about 8 inches. And I did use the staples because as I walked on it, if there was no staples, everything started shifting around. You need to, so it's just helpful when you're starting. And with this picture on the right, I cut around a Spanish lavender plant that was still in my front yard. And what I did is I came in from the dirt side and put compost down. And then I eventually came in from the other side and put compost down. And I left probably about 18 inches of cardboard on the left, and then put down the next roll of cardboard. I didn't put it all down at once because I just can imagine walking across it with a wheelbarrow. It would just be a big mess. And you will water after each layer, like I said. Next. This is a picture of the poor bedraggled staples in my front yard. See how they aren't really in it? The ground was really hard. I just wanted it to hold it together. So you can use rocks or bricks. I did use bricks later on in the process, but here I was just trying to keep things so that they all stay together. Next. Next, you're going to layer compost on top of the cardboard. And let me explain the pictures. The picture on the left is when I was doing my big back lawn with appliance cardboard. And you can see many different pieces of appliance cardboard. And you can see how there's a cutout hole kind of near the left-hand bottom corner on that picture. And I made sure there was cardboard underneath. You don't want to let it have a chance to sprout through. And the reason there's all these lines on this is that I had a young man who was helping me spread out or moving all the compost, and he wasn't quite sure what I meant. So he's putting it in beds, and then I put the rice straw in between the beds. Worked quite well. On the right, because it was in the summer, and because even though I was watering each layer, I didn't want to keep watering it all the time. So I decided to put a very thin layer of plastic on top, and I held it down with bricks. And that was quite effective. And the next picture will show you a little more about, well, in a couple pictures. You do need to spread out evenly. I put about 6 inches of compost down. I wasn't perfectly level. It all leveled out eventually. And it kind of compacted down to about 4 inches. Next, you have to water at every level. Now, this is because it was the summer and I was worried about weed seed sprouting. After I put down all the compost, I decided to do a very thin layer of plastic. And I couldn't even find the thinnest plastic that they make. I think it's about 1.5 millimeters, something like that. I had to go out of town to get it to a hardware store, but it actually worked really well. And it was on for about 3 months this summer, and it was really easy to take off. I had some thicker plastic sheeting that I used on a garden bed last year, and it obviously was not UV resistant because it broke into millions of pieces, which is great fun to go pick out plastic out of your garden bed where you're growing food. On this, what I did is I put the plastic down and I put bricks around, and then I put compost all around the edges, and it kind of sealed it, and it definitely kept the moisture in. I wouldn't do this in the winter. If I was doing this right now, I absolutely would not do it. I would just let the rain come and help you out. Next. Do's and don'ts, or if I was to do it again all over, these are things I would really want to think about more. I actually let this go out. I let it continue its happy ways here on purpose, but you do need to keep an eye on the edges of the concrete. What's funny, if you lifted up the cardboard there and you went back maybe like 8 inches, there would be long white. The grass is completely white, and it was just really trying to get to the sun. Very easy to pull out the grass because it was kind of thin and weedy underneath. So the grass tried, but I was able to keep it under control. The other thing I will say for do is, and I didn't do this because I knew exactly where the 2 sprinkler heads were on my small lawn. And once you put compost on top, no, you don't. Because I'm having someone replace my sprinkler heads and put in low flow, and then we'll do drip off of that. Next, things to not do. You will hear people talking about doing this process in one day, which you certainly can do. If you had a bunch of people doing it, that'd be a terrific way to do it. This is a load of compost I got from the city a few years ago. It arrived on a January day, and a couple days later, I took this picture. And this is how hot it was. You would not want to spread that out and then plant plants in it right away. You've got to let it cool down. So if you're going to do everything one day, make sure you have your compost beforehand and you make sure it's not going to be too hot. The other thing I wouldn't do in hindsight, I'm not sure that if I was doing it by myself again, that I would buy the rolls of cardboard. They were kind of expensive. But if I had people with me, we're going to do everything in one day, maybe I would. And next. And now I turn it over to Iris.
Yeah. It's time to install your plants. You have let it took us, when we did our garden, it took about 3 or 4 months for everything to be ready to where we wanted to put the plants in. But you can install plants immediately if the ground underneath is soft. You can dig through the cardboard and make sure you have enough room for the roots. Dig a hole, put a plant in, and you've got it. But the plants that we want to install are going to be Mediterranean or native plants, all low water pollinator plants. I like this picture of succulents because these are from South Africa, most of them, and they hold the water in their leaves. and they come in a variety of colors, and they are quite beautiful over time. Okay, next one. Once you install you've had your pipes installed, now it's time, then the plants are installed. Now it's time to put your drip system in. If you look at this, we had a big willow, cotton, I think it's cottonwood. Anyhow, we had a big tree, and we came and had it chopped up into little tiny chips, and they left a huge pile for us, and we put that down. First, we put a layer of cardboard, a layer of compost, and then we got some soil to make it even richer. And then we laid mulch, the wood chips. And then after that, we had some mulch on top that was decorative. You'll notice this garden, it's a corner of my garden. And see the chimney in the back? That's a good measure. And the sparsity of plants. The plants against the fence are roses. We transferred all the roses over to that side because that's where they thrive. And please, next slide. Yvonne, thank you. This is my garden today. If you look, you'll see the chimney in the back. We've planted since it's actually been 6 years. We planted this persimmon tree 6 years ago. Those are the roses in the back that are now beautiful. And the epilobium, or the native fuchsia, is taken over, and we let it do that. We can, if you want a garden that looks like this, you can replace plant over time. You will have to replace some of the original plants, and some of the plants will just die off. And others will come back and be profuse. This garden, what we do in the fall, it dries at the bottom, and it shoots up green. The greens, like right now, if you look at the ground, it's dry, and up from there are the flowers, and the flowers today are actually prettier than when this was taken, which was a week or so ago. And we take a lawnmower to it, and you can take a lawnmower and cut it down to the ground, and it comes back up again. It is a lazy person's way of doing things, I think, but it's a fun way. Okay, thank you. We want you to do your homework before you start. Now, our library consultant told us of some books you can borrow. You can also go to the websites for Rescape California, which is a new name for bay-friendly gardens. They have a YouTube that has a lot of the information that we have shared with you today, along with some extra things that we left out. So Rethink Your Lawn, the bay-friendly way, is where I would start. Then we here locally, we have the City of Napa Cash for Grass program. And this is their website. Next slide. The California Native Plant Society is another resource. Now they're having a plant sale this weekend up at Skyline Park, where the garden is. And I believe you can go there Saturday and Sunday and pick out your plants. The Charles Dowding is a very entertaining Englishman. It's not from our local area, but it's fun to watch, where he says, start out no dig, one method with cardboard and compost. Now he plants on top what looks like weeds, but he puts his cardboard down and then compost, and will tell you how he does it. And that is on YouTube. And with that, I think, we have to call the city to get their help. Now, if you live outside of Napa, you will call your local city or local county. We begin by contacting the City of Napa regarding their cash for grass, and flip the strip, which is the little parking strips in front of your house. consult with the Water Conservation website page for details on the process, the terms and conditions, and contacts. And I suspect that if you live in Santa Rosa and many of the other local cities within our area, there is a Cash for Grass program. And Yvonne has made this lovely slide.
It's all the different local cities.
All the different local cities, yeah. St. Helena, Calistoga, Yountville. I can't read the other one. American Canyon. Yeah, and then Napa. So call them and ask for help. And you want to do that in the very beginning. I said begin with your irrigation, but I think I would call the city first. And if you will, you took this off the website. They will talk about the Flip for Your Strip program and the terms and conditions. And you can go online and just look at this terms of conditions, this page here, and it has a phone number that you can call, although they prefer you email them. And it talks about how much mulch you have to have, the process they hope that you use. Anyway, they will come out to your house. And is that a representative? Okay, there's the phone number. A representative from this program will, in Napa anyway, comes out to your house and will measure the square footage. We had 80 square feet of lawn all around our house. And so, they will they don't give you a lot of money. I mean, it paid for Sue, it paid for a compost. For us, it paid a little bit. But it is something that helps. And with that, I think, do I have more to say? What did you learn tonight? How did we demystify sheet mulching for you? Can you do it? Could you go out and lay cardboard and lay down compost and mulch on top of that? Are you inspired?
Yeah, we're gonna give you a little poll to answer. If you're on your computer, I'm gonna pop up a poll and you can answer whether or not we helped you out with information today.
Oh, so I can answer this.
Yep, anybody can answer.
Yeah. Yes, it seems clear to me now. And after this program, are you inspired to be ready to replace your lawn? Okay. Did we inspire you?
Give you guys another second or two here. If anybody else want to put in an answer? Okay, let's see what our results are.
Yes. Okay. And they're ready to start this fall.
Wonderful.
Okay. Great. We've been successful. Questions?
Yeah. Now we can answer your questions if you've typed them into the chat. One of my co-hosts can read those off if there's any questions right now. No questions in the chat today. Oh, here's one. So Pam is asking, my lawn is slightly larger. Let's see, slightly higher than my sidewalk. If I add cardboard and several inches of compost, how much will it compact down?
Ooh, may I answer that?
That's a good one for Sue.
I think that would be a good one to cut back, like I said, about a foot from the edge of your concrete and go down a few inches so it's below where your sidewalk is. I suppose it could be more than that, but I would suggest doing that if your lawn is coming down to the sidewalk, so you don't have that problem.
Yeah, because that can be the mulch can wash right away if you have it mounted up on the sides.
Yeah.
We have a question from Lori, and she's asking, Do you recommend putting mulch over the compost if sheet mulching is in winter? Oh, this winter.
If I was going to plant this fall, I would definitely, I mean, this is a great time to plant California native plants. Wonderful time to plant them. But if I was planting this fall, I would put the plants in and I would put mulch around for sure, because you will close your eyes and not look at that area of your yard for a week and then be shocked how the weeds will sprout. It's amazing how quickly they can come.
And part of the idea with the cardboard, the compost, and the mulch is to keep the light from reaching the ground so that the weeds will not sprout.
But when you have compost, over the winter, birds will drop seeds. Seeds will blow around. So you will have some weed seeds. So the mulch will help restrict the weed growth.
Good point.
Yeah.
Like we have another question.
When you put compost in, though, you have to not touch the stem of the plant. You want it to be just a little about an inch away all the way around.
Yes, you do want to keep it away from away from the trunk of trees and away from the base of a plant.
Do you mean compost or do you mean the mulch?
Compost.
Because I'm planting in the compost, but my compost has been around for a while.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, but it's I always thought it was the mulch I had to be sure to keep away.
You just don't want a lot of buildup right up around the base of the plant, because that will increase the moisture right at the base, and that will sometimes cause it to get infected with fungus and bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
Pam is asking another question. Thanks, Pam. Do you recommend Napa recycling compost? I've had fungus grow from it when I bought it before. Is there another good option?
Oh, I have not had fungus growth.
Well, I want to say that not all fungus is bad. Most fungus that we get from the compost is just breaking it down. It's part of the natural decomposers. It can be a problem if you get a whole lot of it and it goes again up against the plant. It could be an issue, but that's actually a really good resource. And the funguses usually will break down pretty quickly, any mushrooms or other fungi that you see. I have slime molds that come up from my compost, but I know that those can come in from anywhere. How long after you cover the lawn with cardboard and compost until you can start to plant new plants?
Go ahead, Iris.
Yeah, well, you can start planting right away if you want to, or we waited like 3 or 4 months when things really broke down, but you can plant all the way through the process. You just want to be sure your compost has cooled down. Other than that, I don't see any problem with planting.
And my feeling with my lawn, knowing how the fescue that I had planted in my yard, honestly, it will grow. It will look dead as a doorknob and come back after 3 years. So I wanted to make sure that I had some time with the compost and the cardboard over it before I started planting. But I actually started planting in my garden space that I did. I was told to plant a plant like beets. And soon as the beets were ready, that I would know that everything was ready for full tilt gardening. And I didn't totally follow that, but I kind of used it as a guide.
So it looks like we pretty much covered the questions. So we do want to just remind you that this slideshow and many other of our resources are found on our website. You can find this particular slideshow. We usually do all our recordings. We do a little bit of editing and then we get them posted within a couple of days. So if you go on our website, it's the UC Master Gardener website. When it's working, we've been having a few problems with our website at the moment, but it should be up and running again, hopefully in the next couple of days. If you go to our front page and you go to events, find us. And then from that page, you will go into an area that says references and slides. And that's where you can find this slideshow and lots of other resources and previous programs we've done. There's lots of programs on soil preparation and composting, as well as pollinator gardens and all sorts of other topics. So we hope you'll go visit our website. And we want to thank you so much for joining us today and thank the library for hosting us. And both of us have great resources on our websites. If you go to the Napa County Library website or the Master Gardeners, you can find lots more information. We hope to see you again next month. We do these programs the first Thursday of every month. And anybody want to help me out with what's our topic next month?
For next Thursday, it's November 4th. Joining us again from 7 to 8, and the topic will be a meditation garden.
Wonderful. Oh, I see a few more questions.
I can answer one. I
Great,
saw
okay.
a question from Bob about how to cut and how deep to cut. If you look at the Bay Friendly Gardening video, they talk about doing that. Their grass was a little more pliable than mine was, but they just actually dug it before they began and just threw the old lawn onto the other part of the lawn, and it will all break down. So if you look at the Bay Friendly Garden video, they describe that pretty well.
Okay, well, it sounds like we're all finished up. Thank you, everyone. We hope you'll see you again next month.